Now at 5, a community comes together to help bring a woman's home back from the brink.
I was going to sell this property. What happened? Because I couldn't afford to restore it.
Plus, the global community mourning today as Pope Francis is laid to rest.
But an emotional, personal connection with people. I think people picked up on that very much with him.
And neighbors in Troutdale say they were only temporarily relieved after the suspect in a motorcycle theft operation was arrested.
He's not supposed to have guns. He has guns. I have 2 kids.
Thanks so much for joining us here at 5. I'm John Adams. This weekend, one nonprofit organization has been busy helping out low-income homeowners rebuild their homes at no cost to them. Our Celine Stevens spoke with one of those recipients of the program today and is here now with more. Celine?
John, so this program, Rebuilding Together Pacific Northwest, is truly changing lives. It's been around for years, and one of the people getting their home rebuilt today called it all a perfect storm of blessings after nearly losing the home just last year.
Essentially, I was homeless. I couldn't live here. I had no heat and no hot water and no electricity.
This is Pam Jelks standing in her backyard that now has a deck and patio.
It's a work in progress.
This home, located in the Kenton neighborhood of Portland, was built by her father in the late 60s after the family was forced to leave their original home in Albina due to eminent domain.
The city wanted to build I-5, and a lot of the Albina neighborhood was pretty much demolished.
Her father building a brick home so his family would feel safe.
When we first moved to Kenton, according to what I heard, we received a couple of threats, death threats. There were some people who didn't want black people in the neighborhood. And so Dad said, well, I better use brick.
Time took its toll on the home, and just last year, Jelks says everything started to fall apart and the home became uninhabitable, forcing her to start living at a shelter.
I had to leave this house during Thanksgiving, because everything shut down on me, everything. The hot water heater burst, so I had no hot water. I had no heat because the furnace also broke. I had no insulation because the squirrels stole the fiberglass.
She also found out she had kidney failure. But then things began to turn around. Jelks was connected with resources and eventually got in touch with Rebuilding Together Pacific Northwest, a nonprofit that helps low-income homeowners rebuild their homes.
Today we're here helping Pam. We have undertaken a full kitchen remodel. All the electrical on the inside of the kitchen, as well as painting the entire house, rebuilding decks.
It's a national program, but on this Saturday, hundreds of volunteers took on 30 homes to help those in need.
Words cannot describe how appreciative the people are that are receiving our help in rebuilding their houses and helping them rebuild their lives.
Cleaning up their house and their yard and making it like new is so rewarding.
The goal is to fix up an entire home in a day, but sometimes it can take a little extra time, but they'll work until it's done.
I wish my dad and my mom were here to see this, because they never saw this finished product. The construction began in 1968, but the restoration began in 2025.
The co-captains volunteering with this home today told me technically Jelks could move back in by end of day, but she says she'll be waiting till things are completely settled before moving back into her new and improved home. John?
Definitely a life-changing program for many. Celine Stevens, thank you so much for bringing us that report. Pope Francis has been laid to rest in Rome's St. Mary Major Basilica. He's the first pontiff in more than a century to be buried outside the Vatican. The basilica is home to his favorite icon of the Virgin Mary. In his will, he asked to be buried in the earth, simple, without particular decoration. It follows a public funeral that leaders and dignitaries from around the world attended, including President Trump and First Lady Melania, former President Joe Biden, and his wife Jill. They, along with the hundreds of thousands of faithful followers who gathered at St. Peter's Square, said goodbye to the Pope of the people.
It reminded me of just like being the hands and feet of Christ, of like putting what I believe in action and what I love in action.
Tomorrow, the Cardinals are set to go to Pope Francis's tomb to pray over the simple marker he chose as they prepare to choose his successor in their upcoming conclave. Local Catholics mourning Pope Francis say his warm demeanor and openness made them feel close to him. And Bishop Peter Smith of the Portland Archdiocese says that's exactly what he's like in person. Bishop Smith was appointed by Pope Francis, and he's met the pontiff on several occasions. He said he's not surprised the Pope chose to have a simple funeral and burial procession. The Pope was known for the line, "A shepherd should have the smell of the sheep," and advised church leaders to get out amongst the people.
He had a sense of humor. He would joke around. He'd get serious at moments. It was just very, very human.
Bishop Smith predicts after more than 10 years with a pope who focused on reaching outward to people on the fringes, the Cardinals may decide to switch to a pope similar to Pope Benedict, who focused more on the inner workings of the church. In particular, the bishop predicts there's a 50-50 chance the Cardinals will pick a leader from Africa.
Africa is the demographic center of the church right now. It's the fastest growing part of the Catholic Church in the world, followed by Asia.
The bishop says he will always treasure his replica cross, which matches the simple cross worn by Pope Francis. A larger version featuring a shepherd with a sheep is expected to be displayed over the Pope's burial site. Stay with KGW for continuing coverage of Pope Francis's death and the choosing of the next pontiff. If you missed this morning's live stream, we'll have the full funeral available on demand on our KGW TV app. Well, turning now to weather, the last Saturday of April brought another round of sunny and really pleasant conditions. Meteorologist Joe Ranieri has more on what the rest of the weekend's going to look like. Joe?
More of the same. Morning clouds tomorrow morning, and they're going to be pretty thick, but in terms of measurable amount of rain, we're not going to be seeing that over the next couple of days. We are going to be seeing a little bit more of that sunshine, though, heading into tomorrow, and the rest of your Saturday is going to be picture perfect. Right now, we're looking at temperatures in the low 60s with clear skies for the most part. A few kind of high clouds here and there, but for the most part, it will be a nice evening out there. Throughout parts of the metro area, we are looking at temperatures close to 70 degrees. Forest Grove, a little bit cooler at 63 degrees, and along Highway 26 there over in Timber Junction, much cooler with a reading of 55 degrees. And along the Oregon coast, you're looking at readings right around the low to mid 50s. East side of the state, it's right around the low 60s near Baker City and John Day at this hour. So it's relatively quiet west side of the Cascades, but you can kind of make out that counterclockwise rotation moving in, bringing in some light showers near the high desert in Bend and Redmond and along the east side of the state with some thunderstorm activity. We're not going to be seeing any of that later on tonight. We're just going to be looking at some pretty quiet conditions, and that's what we're going to be seeing heading into tomorrow. Morning clouds, and those clouds carry over to the afternoon, but by late afternoon, John, a little bit of some clearing. We'll be looking at temperatures in the low 60s. I have a bit of warm up in the forecast as we head into the early part of May. That's coming up in a few minutes.
All right, Joe, we'll be looking forward to hearing about that. We'll see you later in the show. We're tracking a developing story tonight. Hackers have reportedly released millions of sensitive files onto the dark web, details that were stolen from Oregon's Department of Environmental Quality, or DEQ. OPB reports a known ransomware group called Reseda took credit for the cyber attack and said the state did not respond to its demands. Some of the stolen data was reportedly auctioned off before the rest was released. DEQ would not confirm or deny the report. State cybersecurity services are investigating. Police just busted what they call a stolen motorcycle operation in Troutdale. The suspect faces multiple charges, including possession of a stolen vehicle. Alma McCarty spoke to neighbors who tell us they knew something was up.
In Troutdale,
it's a regular suburbia out here.
This is the usual peaceful scene. However, there is one noise neighbors say that stands out.
It gets really loud with the motorcycles and the revving, and I thought, who is driving all these motorcycles?
The bikes kept coming and coming and coming, and the sound just kept getting louder and louder.
David and Rachel Snow say it's a nuisance they've dealt with for 5 years, backing up to a home with a lot of motorcycles on the property.
We'd hear these things going on at 4 in the morning and as late as like 11 o'clock sometimes.
Yeah, he'd sit out there and rev them over and over and over. Then we had strange people coming back there. We've got 2 kids, so he had to build a fence so we didn't have to see the stuff.
Last week, the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office sent in a SWAT team, served a warrant, and arrested 42-year-old Michael Falk. This after Deputy Nick Bohr pulled over a speeding Harley-Davidson.
It had no license plates, no VIN numbers, and the person who was riding the bike stated that she had came from that location.
Investigators say among the more than a dozen motorcycles and various parts, there were 2 stolen motorcycles, 2 more with VINs intentionally removed, plus a gun and other weapons. A couple of the bikes missing for a while.
2 bikes were stolen out of Oregon City and Portland. I believe they were in 2023.
The Snows say despite the charges, they fear this activity will continue.
I'm afraid that we're going to have to sell our house because this is never going to go away. And I'm thankful the cops are trying to do what they can do, but their hands are tied.
Alma McCarty, KGW News.
Check this out. We're less than 1 month out now from the Rose Festival, and we got a taste of it earlier today in East Portland. This was the scene at the 19th annual 82nd Avenue Parade of Roses. Dozens of community groups took part, as well as marching bands, local elected leaders, businesses and schools, all to show off the rich culture along 82nd.
Well, my grandkids want to see it, and I want to see it. We like to see parades. We see them all the time around this time of year. It's a lot of fun.
Community and family support are key. You got to be out here and just share a smile with people. Show them some love, be nice.
The Rose Festival supported today's event and was featured in the parade. The festival's kickoff is set for May 23rd.